Chapter 5. What was happening to the Travers? It hadn't been very long, only a few days in fact, and J.T.'s predicament was weighing heavily on John. He would be much more at ease if he could find something just to hold them over until something better came along. His home situation wasn't critical yet, but he found that not having a steady flow of money coming in wasn't his favorite thing. He was still willing to work for an extra free to keep it. He wanted JT's going until something better came along. Not only hadn't he slept well, Gynette hadn't either. The children ensured the household arose at the usual time. They were good at that. "Gynette, may I get you a coffee?" "Yes, please. I'm going to have one more, and then I think I'll head to work." "Why?" "I don't know." "Oh, John, it's going to turn around." "I hope so. Maria should be here in another hour. What are you going to do today?" Being somewhat elusive, she said, "I'm going to see Jean-Paul later this morning." And she was telling the truth. It just wasn't at Lifestyles. It was Paul's day off. He had arranged to meet her at what had become their usual spot. Before Maria came, John left for work, leaving Gynette to care for the kids until she came. Gynette enjoyed it. It made her feel like the mother she was to them. But an hour was plenty of time for her. Although the children wouldn't have known it, Gynette wasn't your usual mother. She didn't look like a mother. She was hot and knew it. She had looks which any man would be attracted to, and she flaunted them, as she had done with Jean-Paul. It was she that had made the first move. The first move in her mind was when she had made it absolutely clear that she was open to whatever suggestion he made. Although it was clear in her mind, it wasn't as clear for him. He wasn't sure he was reading her signs right. It took a lot of courage on his part to make the first move and invite her out. After all, she was married, she had children, she was older, and on top of that, she was beautiful. He felt she was out of his league. But once he got over his insecurities, the rest just fell in place, and they were ecstatic that it had. Gynette pulled her Audi into the parking lot and again parked as inconspicuously as she could. She walked through the lobby with her high heels clicking on the marble floor to the bar. Jean-Paul wasn't there yet, so she sat in her usual spot. The waiter came over. This time, he not only knew what she would drink, he remembered her name too. She wasn't sure that remembering her name was a good thing. Not very long ago, she had been upset that he hadn't. "Hi, Gynette. Would you like some wine while you wait?" "Yes, please." "Are you meeting your friend again?" "We are. One day we'll be free of this real estate thing. Then I won't have the pleasure of your company." She smiled awkwardly as color came to her cheeks. "Thank you," she said. The waiter went to get her wine. Her self-consciousness went up too. Jean-Paul stood at the entrance as he looked for her in the bar. He saw her, so he immediately made his way over. She couldn't help being impressed by his looks. They made her smile. He caught her, so smiled back. "Hi, Gynette. I'm glad you could make it." "I wouldn't miss it for the world," she said, broadly smiling. Smiling too, he said, "Nor would I, but I can hardly be blamed. Look at you." Her awkward smile returned. You'd think she was used to receiving compliments, but she wasn't. It was one of her traits that she was trying to change. She was getting better at being complimented. Her relationship with Jean-Paul had gone a long way in improving her demeanor around strangers. She was more self-confident now. Her relationship with him was a shot in the arm for her. She had met Jean when he was relatively young, and it hadn't been long before they were a family. She often felt she had missed the part of growing up that would have given her more self-confidence, given her a presence. She had spent the last 6 years of her life regretting this. But despite her regret, she was getting better, and she showed a lot more self-confidence now than she had. "Did you want a Canadian?" the waiter asked Jean-Paul. "Yes, please." Recognizing that she didn't know his name, she asked, "If you gave us your name, we could use it." He smiled and said, "Tom." "Tom it is," she said. Tom went back to the bar and got a Canadian. "I'll be out of your hair now," Tom said, turning to leave them alone. "Cheers." "Cheers," she said, clinking his glass. "It's nice to see you. Every time I see you, I want more and more to see you again." "Me too. What is it?" she asked, smiling. "We're growing on one another." The smile left her face. Her pleasant looks were replaced by more serious ones. This last statement frightened her more than he could have known. She was a mother. She may have been cheating on her husband, the father of her children, but that was entirely different. She would never do anything to hurt her children. Never. "Did I say something wrong?" "No, of course not. I'm not very happy about what I'm doing, and I guess I was just reminded of it." "We don't have to do this. I can go. Don't be ridiculous. I want to make love to you. I want your hands all over me, on my breasts, everywhere. I want to feel you inside of me. I love making love to you. So we'll do it. If you insist. But remember, we don't have to. If you're ever feeling uncomfortable, just let me know. I'll never feel that uncomfortable. I'm glad to hear that, because I'm ready to ravage you. And I'm ready to ravage you," she said, handing him the keys. "I'll see you in 5 minutes." "See you then." Both the waiter and the bartender were behind the bar in what Gynette assumed was the liquor room. It was just as well, because her exit was abrupt in anticipation of what she thought about. She was thinking about making love to Jean-Paul. She couldn't wait. Jean-Paul stared at his wristwatch. He was going to give her 5 minutes, no more. Just as anxiously as she had, he hurried to the room. She didn't wait for him to enter. She was too aroused. She pulled him into the room and immediately started to tear at his clothes. Their passion grew and grew. They moaned as they pleasured one another. Neither of them expected this. They made love a number of times. After climaxing 3 times, Jean-Paul went limp again. This time she left him alone, even though she was ready to be pleasured again. Jean-Paul brought her animal instincts out. She loved having sex with him. John had left his office and went to the bar again for lunch. Not really. He wanted to see if that girl would be there. He wanted sex again. She gave him what he needed. Physical release with no expectations. He saw her on the street. He pulled his truck over and called out for her. She came over, and after a short conversation through the open window, she got in. He was taking her back to the same hotel. As he drove along Elm Street, he thought he saw Gynette coming out of a parking lot. It was her in the Audi with the top down. What is she doing here? He wondered, but didn't give it much thought. He nonetheless gave it enough thought to drive by, ignoring her, praying he hadn't been noticed. Gynette had turned on Elm Street and was on her way home before he put his signal light on to turn left. He didn't turn into the parking lot, but rather pulled a U-turn to retrace the route he had taken, as if there was nothing out of the ordinary. John didn't know why he was doing this. It didn't make sense, but he was doing it. It might have been just to assure himself that he was in the clear. The woman John was with was named Kim. She and John went into the hotel and had a drink at the bar, not nearly as discreetly as Jean-Paul and his wife had been. Kim and John went upstairs to the room and had sex. Once again, she satisfied him. More than satisfied him. After his dalliance with Kim, he went back to work to see if there were any messages. There weren't any. John stayed for another hour and a half, hoping that he would have a revelation. But he didn't, so he went home. Opening the front door, he called, "Hi, Gynette. I'm home." "Hi," she called, from sunbathing. He came to the back door. She looked wonderful in her bikini. She pulled her glasses down. "Are the children downstairs?" She smiled, as if he should know the answer. "Yes." "They're watching their show." "Yes." "I saw you downtown today." "When?" "About 2 o'clock." "Where?" "Coming out of the President parking lot." She had to think fast. It would have been when she was just leaving Jean-Paul. There was no way she wanted John to know, or even suspect, what she was doing. It would be the end of their marriage, and she didn't feel that under the circumstances she had much of a chance of getting custody of the children. "I've been to the beer store to see what kind of wine they're carrying. I took a shortcut, although I'm not sure it's much of a shortcut." "Did they have any wine of interest?" "No." "I didn't think so. What are we going to have for dinner?" "I don't know. Should we barbecue again?" "The kids like it." "That they do." "Okay, let's barbecue something." "I'll make some salad." "I'll make a macaroni salad." "Sounds good. I'll start the barbecue and let you know when I start cooking." "Okay, I'm going to get out of my bathing suit." "Ah, shucks. I was enjoying it. Next time. This time I'm going to change." "Party pooper," he laughed. Her bottom swaying, her shapely legs capped at one end by her bikini bottom and at the other end by her feet wearing dainty, high-heeled shoes, Gynette went upstairs to their bedroom to change. She returned wearing khaki shorts and running shoes, with well-defined, shapely breasts protruding through her tightly fitting top. He noticed that she was dressing sexier these days. Her change in wardrobe hadn't caused him too much alarm. He was more inclined to just take it in stride, not overthinking the possible reasons behind it. All he knew was that he liked it. He liked what he saw, and that was enough for him. He had always taken pride in her looks, even if the complacency of their situation had caused him to take them for granted. Recently, to him, she had become more aware of what she had. Her increased awareness not only showed in the way she dressed, but also showed in the way she carried herself. She stood more upright. She was definitely more willing to show her attributes off. Mistakenly, John assumed the recent changes in her mannerisms and wardrobe were done for him, but they weren't. They were done for Jean-Paul. He made her feel desirable again. He made her feel like a woman, and like most of the women she knew. When she felt the part, she dressed and played the part. John was oblivious to the reason behind the changes she had been through. He certainly didn't attribute them to another man. But if he were more aware, he would have. He would have noticed that she was now dressing to attract other men besides himself. He would have noticed that even the way she carried herself was more attractive to the opposite sex. It exuded confidence. He would have noticed the real motive behind these changes, but he hadn't. He was comfortable in their relationship, too comfortable. He was good looking and had provided well for his family. He adored his wife. There wasn't anything else a woman could want. Was there? He wondered. He never believed that positive reinforcement could have so much of an effect, but it did. That had been his mistake with Gynette. Although wonderfully good-looking and a great mother, she needed to be told this from time to time. Honey, I'm going to put the steaks on. They should be ready in 10 or 15 minutes. All right? That's all right. I'll prepare the salads. Once ready, the Travers sat down to another meal. Marie had gone home for the night. It had only been since Monday when the Bertrand job had fallen through. There were a couple of days to go before JT's would have survived its first week without any work, if you could call it surviving. John wouldn't. Gynette had told him that she had some errands to run, so she wouldn't be home until 7 in the evening. It had nothing to do with errands. She had arranged to meet up with Jean-Paul once he finished work. She wondered if she wasn't taking it too far. She enjoyed Jean-Paul's company, but she didn't want to jeopardize her marriage. John had always more than provided for the family, and the children seemed to be enjoying it, even if they were oblivious to it. There's no way I'm going to risk our happiness, and I'm not just doing that. Am I? She wondered. If John found out about her affair, that would be the end of her marriage. It would devastate him. It would turn everything he believed in upside down. It would leave her without the children. She couldn't bear the thought of losing her children. It had taken her a while, but now she understood that she and John had a very different idea about what made a good marriage. He believed he was in charge, and as long as he was a good provider, the rest didn't matter. He wouldn't have asked her to marry him and had children with her otherwise. He was ready to take the plunge. She wanted more. She wanted to be adored, not just told she was adored. She needed to feel it, and it had been a long time since John had made her feel adored. If in fact she thought about it, it had been since Johnny was born. Now, Jean-Paul was fulfilling this need for her. He adored her. He learned from her when they made love. She had taught him what brought her pleasure. He was more than willing to oblige her wishes. Why isn't John? She wondered. That'd help. Good morning, John. Would you like some coffee? Yes, please. What you plan on doing today? Well, I need to find work, so I thought I'd drive around and see what's going on. There must be hot spots somewhere in this city. That's a good idea. I think so. JT's just needs to get through this tough time, and I must admit I've been caught off guard. I haven't been through this before, but I think I've figured it out. I have to hit the pavement. Before I didn't. The jobs came to me. There's a silver lining in every cloud, and the silver lining in this case is me recognizing and figuring out how to get jobs. I guess that time off work. That's good. So you're going to be late tonight? I should be home around 7. I have some errands to run, and I want to go to Lifestyles. Okay. Maria will be leaving at 6, John asked. Yes. That shouldn't be bad. The kids and I will prepare dinner. Thank you. What are you going to make? I don't know. I'm sure it will involve the barbecue. I'm sure it'll be delicious. He smiled at her from across the table and, holding his coffee cup up, said, I'm going to finish this and then go to work. All right, it's time to hit the pavement. I'm sure you'll find something. I hope so. This time I can pay myself. I'll keep my fingers crossed. John took one last swig of his coffee, said goodbye to Gynette and the kids, and left. He backed his truck out of the driveway and stepped on the gas. He was determined that he was going to find something today. There has to be something going on in Sudbury, he thought. And if there was, he was going to find it. He pulled into JT's, screeching to a halt. He ran inside and got a map of the city out, put it on his desk, but before looking at it, he went to get a coffee from the machine. He looked aimlessly at the map. He wondered in what area of the city JT's could find some work. He didn't want it to be a new area. He needed it to be an older neighborhood, but desirable. He needed an area of town where people were moving. What about around Sudbury High School, he wondered. The houses were the right age. Recently, it had become more popular. He had noticed some activity in the area. It wasn't far away, so he decided to drive through the area and make a first-hand evaluation himself this morning. Gynette checked on the kids. They were downstairs watching their cartoons. She didn't understand what the children got out of them. As hard as she tried not to, she found them juvenile. It might have been the colors and music that attracted their young minds. She just didn't know. Johnny, Tammy, Maria's going to be here soon. I want you to finish watching your show and come up here for breakfast, okay? Okay, they answered. I'm going to go up and take a quick shower. If I'm not out when Maria arrives, I want you to come up and get something to eat. The kids didn't answer, but she knew they heard her, so she went upstairs to the shower. She made sure the temperature was right. Satisfied that it was, she let her robe drop to the floor and got in. She found the water refreshing as it poured over her. She took the soap and lathered up. She wanted to wash her hair too. As she relaxed in the shower with the warm water running all over her body, Jean-Paul came to her mind. She was really looking forward to having sex with him again today, like yesterday. The time before that, and the time before that, she was becoming addicted to the pleasure he brought her. She couldn't get enough of him. Her libido was in overdrive. She hadn't felt like this in years. She had forgotten what being physically pleasured was like with John. He simply got down to business. He didn't seem to care about how she felt. He copulated for the sake of copulating. When she had sex with Jean-Paul, he made her sensations his sole focus. He concentrated on her climaxing at the expense of him reaching that ultimate moment. He seemed to understand that it was easier for him, so he always targeted her erogenous spots and knew where they were, better than she did. She envisioned Jean-Paul fondling her breasts. She thought about him playing with her clitoris, moving his mouth and tongue slowly into place to heighten her pleasure. She started playing with herself, all the while thinking about him penetrating her. She brought herself to a climax. She was panting. "Wow," she mumbled. She was satisfied, so got out and dried herself off. Because she had taken longer than she thought she had, Maria would be there, so she could take her time. She brushed her teeth, combed her hair, and got ready for the day. But as much as she tried to, she couldn't get making love to Jean-Paul off her mind. It wouldn't go away. Again, she was becoming aroused. She went to the study and called him. "Hi, Jean-Paul. It's Gynette." "Hi, Gynette. How are you?" "I'm fine, but I just masturbated thinking about you." "What?" he asked. "Shh. I masturbated thinking about you. I can't get you off my mind. I need you now, and I mean now." "But, Gynette, I'm working." "I know, but I need you. See if you can get off." "I'll try, but I don't know. I'll call you right back." "Okay, bye." "Bye." Jean-Paul didn't know what to do. He desperately wanted to see Gynette, but he had just started work. He was torn. He didn't know what to do. Then it came to him. He would feign sickness. He was never sick. Lifestyles wouldn't mind. Mark would cover for him. But he would have to be careful from now on. "Hi, Mark," he said as he walked over. "Hi, Jean-Paul." "Mark, I'm not feeling very well. I think I should go home. Will you cover for me?" "Of course. Get some sleep. Rest up. The last thing you want to do is spread it around here." "I know. That's why I think it's best that I go home. Thanks for covering for me. I owe you one." As simple as that, it was done. But Jean-Paul still felt guilty. He had never done this before. He had never missed work, and this time he was doing it for a woman, even if she was beautiful, even if she was good in bed. He walked outside and phoned her. "Hi, Gynette. It's Jean-Paul. Did you get off?" "Yes. I told them I was sick." "Great. When can we meet?" "Any time. I have the whole day off." "Good, because I'm going to ravage you all day long." "I can't wait. Let's meet at the hotel at 11 in the bar. I'll rent a room." "Good. See you soon." "See you soon. Goodbye." Gynette had a little over an hour. She couldn't wait. She didn't know what had overcome her, but something had. She felt years younger. She hoped her excitement wasn't obvious. She went down to her bedroom and took the clothes she was going to wear out of the closet. She selected a short skirt, some high heels, a thick leather belt, and a tight-fitting top, although she didn't expect them to stay on very long. She knew they looked good on her, and that's what she wanted. She wanted Jean-Paul to be out of control, attracted to her. Before leaving the bedroom, she looked in the mirror. She turned slightly both ways. She approved, so went downstairs to the kitchen. Marie and the kids weren't there. She put some coffee on. Slinging her purse over her shoulder, she wanted to check on the children before leaving. They were fine. They were downstairs watching television. So she left, her hair blowing in the wind in her convertible. She sped to the president. She couldn't wait. She hoped he couldn't wait either. She parked in the rear of the hotel, far away from the entrance. She walked in unnoticed, so she made her way to the bar. "Hi, Gynette. You're back." "We are. Can I get you a glass of Bordeaux?" "Yes, please, Tom." "When will your friend be here?" "Soon," she answered. Just then, her eyes widened. Her smile flattened. She stared. She couldn't take her eyes off him. He walked over. "Hi, Gynette. May I join you?" "No. Let's go upstairs." "Upstairs?" he asked with a quizzical expression. "Yes. Room 310. See you soon." And a lot more loudly, she added, "Tom, forget that Bordeaux. Something has come up. We have to be going." "Okay, bye." Gynette went directly to the room in a hurry. Jean-Paul, wanting to be a little bit behind her, stopped at the men's room. He went up a couple minutes later. She heard him at the door, so reached outside, grabbing him and pulling him inside even more aggressively than the last time. They made love for hours. Both of them climaxed a number of times. It was nonetheless only early afternoon when they finished. Satisfied with their encounter, they went their separate ways. John was expecting her to come home from Lifestyles somewhat late. He was scoping out the new Sudbury subdivision this afternoon. This morning, he had had some luck. A number of houses were for sale in the Sudbury High School area. He wondered if the area wasn't seeing a small renaissance. He couldn't tell if they needed new roofs or not. But just that they were for sale was a good sign. The houses were the right age too. The houses in New Sudbury were newer, but the houses in the older areas, while not the same age as those he had seen this morning, did approach that age. He would drive around and do some reconnaissance. Not bad, he thought. The Bertrand news set me back, but I'm making up for it now. And he was. He had never had to do this before, so it was new for him. But once he put his mind to something, he usually accomplished it. He had no reason to believe that this time would be any different. Earlier, while driving around the high school area, he had decided to make up some flyers offering JT services. He planned to design and make them at home and distribute them tomorrow. He needed about 25. If he could get one job from those flyers, he would be happy. He was sure to keep the flyers in JT's arsenal. A number of houses in New Sudbury were for sale too. He felt he had a worthwhile day. Tomorrow, he was going to return and drop the flyers off. It was only 3:30, but he was going home to start on those flyers. He wondered if Gynette was still there. It's too early for her to be at Lifestyles, he thought. He took Barry down to LaSalle to Notre Dame. Once on Notre Dame, it was more or less a straight shot home. The street changed names to Paris downtown. Pulling into his driveway, he noticed the Audi was there. If the Audi was there, so was Gynette. He assumed she hadn't gone to Lifestyles yet. He glanced at his watch, getting out of the truck. Soon, he thought. Coming through the front door, he said, "Hi, Gynette. I'm home. Where are you?" "I'm in here," she answered from the living room. He walked over and gave her a kiss, asking, "Where are the kids?" "They're with Maria in the back." "Don't tell them I'm home. I'm going up to the study." I had an idea today when I was driving around. What was that? I'm going to make up some flyers and drop them off tomorrow. We only need one job. She perked up. You'll get it. We will, he said emphatically. Are you going to Lifestyle soon? Her eyes quickly went to him. She had a puzzled look on her face. Regaining her composure, she looked down at her watch and answered, Yes. Gynette hadn't been planning on it, but having been asked by John gave her an idea. She could see Jean-Paul again. Twice in one day, she thought. She would call him when John went upstairs. She was becoming aroused. Twice in one day kept coming to her mind. John quickly climbed the stairs. He was excited. He could see the light at the end of the tunnel. JT's only needed one of the houses he planned to revisit tomorrow to need some work done. He'd make sure his bid was low. He hadn't decided yet if he'd work for free, but that was always an option. He knew the flyer didn't need to be fancy. He also knew his computer skills, and his lack of creativity didn't allow for that. So he started. After some time, he had it. It was simple, to the point, and had, as he had been told, a hook. He looked it over. Being satisfied, he printed out 25 copies. Before putting them into his briefcase, he looked at them again. They'd work, he thought, so put them in. Gynette had said goodbye on her way to Lifestyles, but something irked him. He couldn't figure it out. She had acted surprised when he had asked her if she was going to Lifestyles. Why would she act surprised? She told me she was going. I saw her coming out of the parking lot of the President. Shortcut, she said. She was checking out the wine collection at the beer store. They have wine? She's been wearing sexier clothes. She's been going to Lifestyles later and later. These and other things confused him. Is she having an affair? He wondered. No, not Gynette. But things weren't adding up for him. He suspected something. From here on, he would start paying more attention.